the call to inner education, rephrased version. There comes a time in everyone's life when the noise outside just stops making sense. When all the distractions and entertainment stop filling the emptiness, and deep inside something starts to ache, not for more noise, but for more meaning. This is when we feel pulled towards something deeper. Not the kind of education from schools or degrees, but the kind we choose for ourselves. The kind that changes us, not just teaches us. Not just about learning more facts, it's about waking something up inside, something real, something true. This kind of learning is sacred. That is how we break free from being stuck. It's how we grow from the inside out. Let's talk about 5 powerful ways to make this part of your daily life. Because real self-education isn't about pressure or obligation. It comes from somewhere deeper, from a quiet restlessness in your soul. A small voice that keeps asking, what do I really need to understand? Until you face that question, most learning stays on the surface. You might collect information, but your heart stays untouched. True growth begins when that question feels urgent, when it's no longer just curiosity, but something your spirit needs, like a hunger that lives in your bones and won't let you sleep. This question won't come just once. It shows up again and again, sometimes as frustration, sometimes as wonder, sometimes through pain. It might come when you're doing something simple like washing dishes or walking through a crowd, and suddenly you feel that tug, that whisper inside that says, there's something I haven't figured out yet, something I need to learn. The first step, asking the inner question, rephrased version. There's a certain kind of restlessness inside us that won't go away. A feeling that says, I can't be at peace until I understand what's really going on inside me. That discomfort? It's not something to run from. It's sacred. It's the beginning of true self-education. Not because you want to impress anyone, but because your soul knows you can't live on the surface anymore. Think of someone who keeps repeating the same painful pattern, ruining the good things as soon as they show up. He might blame bad luck or say he's just weak. But if he gets quiet, really quiet, he'll hear the real question hiding under the chaos. Why do I push away the very things I want? And the moment he dares to face that question, not with shame, but with curiosity, that's when real change begins. Sometimes, like a young man I once knew, that moment comes through a book. Not because the book gives him all the answers, but because it speaks directly to his pain. It reflects him. And when your inner confusion meets something that makes sense outside you, that's the start of transformation. The truth is, no one teaches us how to ask the right questions. We're taught to memorize, to perform, to achieve, but almost no one teaches us how to wonder, how to become a seeker, not just a student. And that's where real learning begins. It doesn't matter what you study, math or music, science or self-help, if it doesn't touch something real inside you, it won't last. But when your question is personal and alive, even a single sentence can change everything. Sometimes the question shows up in everyday pain. A mother wondering why she keeps yelling. A teen asking why she feels invisible. A man with a great job wondering why he still feels empty. These aren't small questions. They're the doorways to awakening. When you choose to learn each day, the goal isn't to finish a book or master a topic. The goal is to stay connected to that question inside. Let it guide what you read, what you listen to, what you think about. That's what makes your learning real. And the beautiful thing, that question changes over time. Today, you might ask, why am I afraid to speak up? But tomorrow, you might realize the deeper question is, when did I first learn that my voice wasn't safe? And maybe even, what would it mean to trust my voice again? Asking yourself questions like these is how you start a conversation with your own soul. Your mind might be searching for answers, but your soul, it's searching for something deeper: truth, healing, connection. And those things don't come in a neat 5-step plan. They come slowly. They come when you're honest. They come when you're ready to feel. So the next time you sit down to learn something, don't ask, What should I learn today? Ask, what truth is ready to rise in me today? And you'll be amazed by what shows up. A stranger's story, a sentence from a book, a memory from years ago. They all become lessons when you're guided by a deeper question. This is the real courage. Not just chasing knowledge, but seeking understanding. Not just filling your mind, but waking up your soul. Not just gathering answers, but living inside the question until it teaches you who you really are and who you're still becoming. We live in a time where people believe knowledge is power, just because they've collected a lot of it. But here's the truth. Knowledge that doesn't reach your soul, it becomes decoration, not transformation. It's not how many books you read. It's how deeply one idea moves you, how it shifts something inside you. Too often, we binge books and podcasts like we're at a buffet tasting everything, but digesting nothing. The mind gets busy, but the soul stays hungry. It's like walking through 1,000 temples, but never once kneeling to pray. But your soul doesn't want more. It wants depth. Just imagine this. What if each day you pause at one sentence, just one, and ask, what does this mean for me today? That small act could shift your entire path more than rushing through 20 books. Because learning isn't about gathering more. It's about being moved. Good books should stop you, make you feel, make you reflect. The best reading doesn't just teach you something new. It shows you who you are right now. And sometimes one sentence can stir something in your chest, make you cry, bring back a buried memory. That's not your brain learning. That's your being waking up. Reading to transform, not just gather information. Rephrase version. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause. Close your eyes. Sit quietly with what just touched your heart. There's no award for rushing through this inner work. You don't need 10 lessons in a day. You need one. Truth, one idea that stays with you long after the video or book is over. One thought that shows up when you speak to someone you love. When you're stuck in traffic, or when you're reminded of a past hurt in a new way. That's when learning becomes real, not because you know more, but because something in you is starting to change. Think about this. When you read about Viktor Frankl and his suffering in the concentration camps, the goal isn't just to admire his strength from a distance. Is to feel it in your bones. To realize that even in deep pain, we still have a choice to give our lives meaning. And when you take that seriously, it doesn't just stay in a book. It becomes part of you. So the next time you feel unseen, betrayed, or small, that truth rises not to erase your pain, but to give it purpose. Now, that's transformation. And it doesn't come from how many books you read. It comes from how deeply you pay attention. You have to read slowly with your heart, not just your eyes. Let the words soak into you like rain into dry soil. Let them soften you, stir you. It's okay to underline a sentence, write in the margins, return to a phrase again and again until it speaks to you. Reading like this isn't about consuming more. It's about sculpting yourself gently, patiently, like a sculptor shaping a block of stone, not adding to who you are, but removing what no longer belongs. The lies, the fears, the voices that never really came from you. There's a quiet kind of humility in this, because the book won't change you unless you let its truth touch you. You're not just reading for fun. You're sitting at the feet of wisdom, not to master it, but to let it shape you. So let reading be sacred. Let it be a mirror, tool to break through your walls, and a balm to help you heal. Let every word that enters you leave behind more presence, more courage. More truth. Learning from your shadows. Rephrase version there. That's the kind of learning you won't find in classrooms or self-help videos. It lives in the places you usually avoid, the painful moments, the mistakes, the confusion. We're often told to build on our strengths. To improve what we're good at. And yes, that's valuable, but it's not the whole picture. Real growth often starts in the shadows, in the parts of us we don't want to face. Take the man who keeps lashing out at the people he loves. He regrets it, but he can't stop. He tries to hide it, promises to do better next time, but nothing changes. True education would mean pausing not to blame himself, but to ask, what's behind this anger? Maybe he remembers a childhood where showing feelings was dangerous. So now anger is his armor. That insight, that's where healing begins. Now the behavior isn't just a problem. It's a message. It's easier to show the world our good side, our drive, our generosity, our success. But it takes deep strength to admit, I'm controlling because I'm scared of being left. I act distant because I'm afraid of being rejected. I stay quiet because I've never felt like my voice mattered. These are not weaknesses, they're doors. And when we open them with honesty, not shame, we begin to break free. One woman once told me every relationship made her smaller, not because anyone told her to shrink, but because somewhere deep down, she believed that being fully herself was too much for anyone to love. She didn't get this insight from a course. She found it slowly. By journang. By noticing her patterns. By asking herself the hard questions. And that kind of truth. It changes everything. Daily self-education means tracking your behaviors back to where they began, naming the beliefs that no longer serve you, and doing it with curiosity, not judgment. When we stop reacting to our shadows with fear and start meeting them with compassion, they lose their power. They become our teachers. And as we learn their language of fear, of protection, of pain, we also begin learning our own truth. Not the version we show the world, but the one we carry quietly inside. Work is not quick or easy, but it's powerful. Because once we see clearly, we no longer have to repeat the same patterns. We can choose differently, love differently, live differently. Becoming through daily devotion. Rephrase version to educate yourself every day doesn't mean stuffing your mind with facts. It means caring for your soul. It means pulling out old beliefs and planting new, truer ones. Your strengths may push you forward, but your shadows, they show you where you need to go. And when you choose to face them gently, patiently, you begin to become. Transformation doesn't usually come like a lightning bolt. It comes quietly, like water shaping stone, slow, steady, powerful. There's something sacred about meeting yourself each day. Not because you're trying to fix yourself, but because you're honoring yourself. The world loves big breakthroughs, but the soul, it responds to rhythm. To small rituals. To honest attention. Set aside just 30 minutes. Maybe in the quiet of the morning or before sleep. When your heart is still. In that space, do something simple. Read a sentence that moves you. Write down what you notice in yourself today. Or carry one truth in your pocket all day. This isn't about doing more. It's about being more. Many people wait for the right time, the perfect mentor, the ideal setup. But transformation doesn't need perfection. It just needs sincerity. Even one small truth, deeply reflected on, can shift your life. Let's say you read, "You are not your thoughts." Sounds simple. But if you take it seriously, the next time a harsh thought shows up, you remember, this isn't me. It's just passing through. You pause. You choose differently. And your life quietly begins to shift. This is a garden. You tend every day. Some days will feel slow. You might feel stuck or tired, but you still show up. Because showing up is how change takes root. Over time, without forcing anything, you begin to speak with more truth. Act with more clarity, and feel more alive. Not because you pushed hard, but because you honored the process. This quiet work, it's revolutionary. Not because it's loud, but because it's real. You're not learning just to impress others. You're learning to become someone new. So ask yourself each day, what truth am I ready to meet today? Not just with my mind, but with my words, my actions, even my silence. This is how you stop chasing change and start becoming it. One moment, one breath, one small, sacred choice at a time. Creating a sacred daily learning ritual. Rephrased version. There's a quiet kind of learning happening all the time. in conversations, in the way shadows move across the floor, even in the way a tree sways in the wind. But this kind of learning doesn't come from ambition or chasing success. It comes from being open, from being willing to let life shape you. Instead of always trying to shape life, most people live like they're just passing through. Always rushing from one task to the next. Heads down, souls tired, eyes full of to-do lists. But there are some those who begin to wake up, who start to see life differently. They realize the world is like a mirror, always reflecting something back at them. They stop watching life from the outside and start joining the conversation life is trying to have with them. There's wisdom waiting for you in places you might not expect. Sometimes it comes from people who are very different from you. We often surround ourselves with those who think like us. But real growth happens when your beliefs are gently challenged. Talk to someone from a different walk of life, someone who sees the world differently. Don't ask them to defend themselves. Ask them to share. Listen not to respond, but to understand. In their stories, you may find forgotten pieces of your own. And then there are elders. There's something powerful about sitting with someone who has lived. They carry decades of life in their voice, in their hands, in their eyes. When they speak of love, regret, or loss, listen. They're walking storybooks, and their stories aren't just memories. They're roadmaps. They're quiet warnings. They're blessings. And don't overlook the children. They may not have fancy words, but they speak from a place we often forget. Pure, honest, unfiltered truth. Ask them about joy. Ask them what makes them afraid. Ask them what they dream about. Their answers will remind you of what really matters. Before the world told us to hide who we are. But life doesn't just teach through people. It teaches through the natural world. Sit in a forest, not as a visitor, but as a student. Nature doesn't rush. Trees grow slow. Rivers don't resist. The earth is patient. A bird building a nest may teach you more about love and effort than any book ever could. And then there's silence, the teacher we often avoid. In silence, the truth starts to rise. Things you've ignored begin to speak. In those small pauses in traffic, before sleep, while sipping coffee, your soul might whisper something it's been trying to tell you for years. These are the real lessons. You don't need to go searching. You just need to be still long enough to notice. One day, you might hear a stranger say something that shifts how you see your entire life. Or you might finally see the sadness in your mother's eyes and understand something you never could before, or feel a strange connection to a dying tree. These are not random. They're wake-up calls, but only if you're paying attention. Only if you're listening. In this loud world full of distractions and constant urgency, our souls are starving, not for more answers, but for more presence. To turn life into a sacred classroom, you don't need formulas or perfect routines. You just need to slow down, feel more. Notice what's right in front of you. You're being taught every day by joy and pain, by nature, by strangers, by silence, by love, and even by your own heartbeat. The classroom is everywhere. Everything is a teacher. And every moment is the lesson. To educate yourself daily isn't about cramming your head full of facts. It's about becoming more awake to your life. You're not a finished product. You're a river flowing, changing, becoming. So ask real questions. Read with soul. Learn from your mistakes. Create space in your day to feel and reflect. Let life teach you, because the real tragedy isn't not knowing. It's forgetting that you're allowed to wake up at any time. And the greatest power is remembering. You can always begin again. Start today. Not with pressure, but with presence. Thank you for listening.